Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I've got some pretty big news. There will be some nerfs coming at some point next week to Hearthstone, which is incredible given that the expansion's only just been released. I think this is very much needed. They put out a tweet which just basically said we're going to be aiming them at Shaman and it's coming some point next week. So we don't know what the nerfs are, but we do know it's going to be targeting Shaman. So I think this is fantastic because the game needs it. I also want to say really quick reaction from the Hearthstone team. I think that's very much needed as well. But I think, and I hate being negative, but that is where my positivity ends here because honestly, for me, this has been one of the worst expansion launches I've played. Rastakhan was pretty bad because none of the new cards were that good, but this is the opposite. There is one deck which is so oppressive and so good that it makes all of the other cards really bad. And from my perspective, as somebody who doesn't really like to play the top deck and just grind out wins over and over again, I prefer to just play with random cards, get lower win rates, maybe lose more games than I win, but just play something fun and just try and make something cool happen. And that's what I really enjoy doing at the start of an expansion because there's all these new cards. You can create these crazy combos, these really dumb decks which is just fun to play. You don't expect them to be at the top of the ladder. You don't expect to play them every single day, but they're just fun to mess around with. Well, this expansion's just completely ruined that because Galakrond Shaman became so powerful immediately. People recognize straight away that it's very strong. And because of that, all of the other cards are just almost useless. I mean, you've seen, I've only put out one video. I played the Warlock, Dragon Warlock, Hand Warlock, which is a really interesting kind of new concept to the game. Increasing your hand size, fantastic. And that worked out okay. But I've also tried loads of other decks just to, like I said, memey kind of fun decks. And they're just almost useless to play because you just get overrun by Shaman. I'm playing Shaman almost all the time. So it's just useless. Like I've spent hours recording videos where I'm just losing over and over again because Galakrond Shaman's so strong. Now everybody will be getting dust refunds for cards that get nerfed. We don't know what they are yet, but that leads to another issue of, yes, if certain cards get nerfed you get a dust refund, but lots of people this early in expansion probably just crafted a Galakrond Shaman deck, all the cards in there. So if they nerf 2 or 3 cards from that deck, yes, you'll get a dust refund, but you don't get a dust refund for the rest of the cards in that deck. And that's really frustrating, especially so early in the game. And I think things like this need to be caught a little bit earlier. The expansion's all about dragons, and nobody can play dragons because I've tried playing Dragon Druid and it's not been very good. Dragon Paladin is terrible. Yeah, so hopefully they make this some really good nerfs which can just... You don't need to obliterate Galakrond Shaman, but just it's being played too much and it's too high on the power scale for it to be really fun in the game. Now, if you're playing Shaman, I feel bad for you because this is... I think they will hit it quite hard, but you know, you shouldn't feel bad about playing the best deck in the game. This isn't what I'm getting at. If the deck is in the game and it gets you a good win rate and that's what you're after, that's what you should be playing. So it's up to the developers to create a balanced meta that can be enjoyable to play in, and I think they've failed with that with Descent of Dragons, which, like I said, I hate to be negative, but that's just how I feel. I just haven't really enjoyed the expansion very much at all because it's just completely limited the experimentation I can do. Anyway, let's talk about it and see potentially what I think they will change. And the problem with Galakrond Shaman is that it's got such a high win rate, and when you look at HS replay, it's kind of around 65%, depending on which kind of variant it is. But Galakrond Shaman is such a strange design because it's so much better than all of the other Galakrond decks. The Galakrond effect, the hero power, summon a 2/1 elemental, is just so much more impactful to the board anyway than any of the other Galakrond things. Usually when you're making this kind of a deck, in the history of Hearthstone, Galakrond would be, when you play him, this huge power spike, kind of like playing in the Zoth or something like that. And throughout the game leading up to that point, you play these cards which kind of contribute to this big power spike that you're trying to do. But the problem with Galakrond Shaman is the contributions are actually power spikes in themselves. So you never really have any downside. Summoning a 2/1 elemental with Rush just kind of makes all of their Galakrond cards or their invoke cards so much better. And even the Devoted Maniac, which is just a little bit of a a weak card in any of the other Galakron decks, you don't want to pay 4 mana to summon a 2/2 with Rush, because the other decks will invoke Warrior. You get attack, which can be useful, but the other ones, like Priest, for example, giving you a random Priest minion, or even Rogue giving you a Lackey is very good, but you're still playing a 4 mana 2/2. Well, in Shaman, you're playing a 4 mana 2/2 with Rush, plus you're getting another 2/1 with Rush. So you're playing a 4 mana 4/3 with Rush, which is split damage, so you can change the target. So it's just a really good card to play, and it contributes to your Galakron and all that stuff. But that's not even the problem. The problem is the rest of their cards. So Invocation of Frost, 1 mana, summon a 2/1 with Rush. Glacial Shard was really good at some points in the game. This is basically Glacial Shard, but you get Rush with it. So that's already instantly a very good card. They also have the Corrupt Elementalist, which is Battlecry invoke Galakron twice. This is the only invoke card which invokes Galakron twice. So it's strange that they're getting it, particularly as in Quest, it's a Battlecry, so you can hit the Quest first and invoke Galakron 4 times just with this one card, and get 4 2/1s with Rush. The stats, when you play it with on its own without the Quest double Battlecry, you get 2 2/1s with Rush with it and a 3/3 body. You can split the damage of the Rush. It's just a strong card to play. There is no weakness to playing this card because it gives you a nice stats on the board, it gives you Rush presence to control the board, and it also invokes your Galakron twice. So there's no downsides to playing this card. It doesn't slow you down, it in fact just speeds you up. And then there's Dragon's Pack. Summon 2/2/3 Spirit Wolves with Taunt. If you've invoked twice, give them +3/+3. Well, in Shaman, I've already said it's so easy to invoke. It's no downside. So actually invoking twice is really easy. So Dragon's Pack is always going to be 2, 5, 6 Spirit Wolves with Taunt. So it's such a powerful play to play for 5 mana. And when you put it in a package of Shaman, which was already the best deck at the end of the last expansion, suddenly you still can play Mogu Flesh Shapers, you can still play the Quest, you can play Galakron Shaman without the Quest because it's so strong, but you've got your Flesh Shapers, Evil Totem, you mutate. All of this package just puts it into a really strong deck. Now, what would I change? The main power spike of Shaman is the Galakron Azeroth's End, and that card is very powerful, but I'm not too upset about that. I kind of think that is something that is kind of good in a Galakron deck. You want to build up, and then when you play with Galakron, you get this strong power play. So what that does is, if you've invoked 4 times, which is not hard in Shaman, and it pretty much happens all the time, you get 5 armor, you get the 5/2 claw, and you also summon 2 8/8 storms with Rush. So when you're playing it, you're getting huge board presence, huge board control, and you're getting a weapon to hit your opponent in the face with. That in itself is okay. I wouldn't nerf that, but the reason I think it does need to be nerfed is Shudderwock, because when you play Shudderwock, you get all this again. So I actually think that this is it's pretty disgusting, actually, based on all the strength of the other cards in the deck. And if Shudderwock wasn't possible, or if you couldn't hero power first and get double battle cries from Galakron, I don't think this would need to be nerfed. But because of that, I think they should. And I wouldn't nerf the first 2 stages of Galakron. The first stage is summon 2 2/2s, the second stage is 2 4/4s, and the final is 2 8/8s. Well, I think they need to nerf this. Just Galakron Azeroth should suddenly summon 2 6/6s with Rush rather than 8/8s. It's still a very powerful play. 2 6/6s with Rush, and if you play it with Quest, you're getting 4, and you can still play it with Shudderwock afterwards. I think this would be a good change. I think it's important. Now, the thing about playing against the Shaman decks is, this is coming, so potentially you'd save some AoE. So they play this, they clear your minions off, and then you clear the board. Let's say you've played a Plague of Death in Priest. Now, the problem with that is that you've used your whole turn to clear their board. You know that they can just do this again with Shudderwock, or they can just reload with their other cards. So you're just handing the initiative to them. And not only that, they've just equipped a 5/2 claw, which will hit you in the face for 10. So you take 5 damage to the face, then you clear the board. They can refill the board and hit you again. So I think, and I don't think the Hearthstone team will ever do this, but I think they should just take the claw out of Shaman. The 5/2 claw, I think they take it out because the extra 10 damage it just cripples you. As soon as they play Galakrond, you know you're running out of time because you can't compete with them on the board. All you can do is clear the board, but even if you clear the board, you're still taking 10 to the face, and you've got a Shudderwock coming later. So I really think how I would nerf Galakronds as of ends is I would change the Storms to 6/6s. In the final form, which I think is something that they will do, and I would also just take the claw off of them, but I don't think that is going to happen. I think they want to keep it Galakron consistent. They always do this in Hearthstone, so I think you will still keep the 5/2 claw. So that is something that I would nerf to Galakrond, but I wouldn't stop there either. I think the invoke cards also need to be nerfed for Shaman, and what I would do is I would probably keep the cards as they are. So I'm talking about here the Corrupt Elementalist, Invocation of Frost. I think I would probably keep those as they are, but I would also nerf, instead of invoking Galakrond, I think I would nerf his hero power to summon a 1/1 rush, because I still think that is pretty impactful to the board, but it's just so much less impressive. And it's a pretty huge nerf, and if they do this, if they change his hero power from 2/1s to 1/1s, I think you'll probably see this Shaman go away. But I think it's needed. I think it's important because if they just touch it a little bit and make some tiny changes, it will still be a really strong deck because of the shell around Shaman is so strong. So I think that's what I would do. I would nerf his hero power to just summon 1/1s with Rush rather than 2/1s, because a 1/1 with Rush is still impactful in the early game. They still have ways to buff those 1/1s, so you can use your Bloodlust still. The 1/1s can be really good in Shaman, tokens can be evolved, all this kind of stuff. So I think it's still okay, but that is something that I would do. So if they do that, I don't know whether that means that you would get a dust refund for invoke cards, because they're not technically nerfing the invoke card, but they're nerfing the effect of Galakrond. And because everyone got Galakrond for free, maybe you get no dust, but I don't know. So that's what I would do, I think, for Shaman. Dragon's Pack is an interesting one. I don't mind this being too much of a power spike. I think this is okay, but I think the 6 health is frustrating. So I think what I find is a lot of the times you can deal 5 damage to one of the Dragon's Packs. So there's Rush minions that have 5 attack, for example. But I think 6 health makes it very difficult to trade away. So perhaps I would nerf Dragon's Pack to summon two 3s or summon two 2/2s with Taunt, and if you've invoked twice, give them +3/+3. I think that would be better if they were 5/5s, because that 1 health, actually, what I found is it really is frustrating, because instead of making 1 trade, often you have to trade 2 minions in, which I think is quite frustrating. So that's what I would do to Shaman. Shaman, yeah, it needs a nerf. I've never seen such an oppressive deck so early in an expansion. Now, this always happens in expansions. You get these strong decks, but I think in this instance, this one is just going to be one that will be strong for a long time. And obviously the Hearthstone team agrees because they're going to be nerfing it. So that is what I would change. Now, I wouldn't stop there. There is another change that I would like to be made in the game, and this isn't Shaman specific, although it does definitely impact the Shaman, and that is the Faceless Corruptor. This is the 5 mana 5/4 Rush Battlecry. Transform one of your minions into a copy of this. So effectively, with a game that has so many tokens, and Shaman with their lackeys, with the invokes, elementals that come out, is very easy to get for 5 mana. 10 damage on the board. You just put 2 of these, you get 2 of these on the board, and you can rush it in. So Oasis Surger is a minion in Druid, which was very, very strong, but it was confined to Druid and it was confined to Quest Druid. So it was something where you struggle along with your quest completion, and when you complete your quest, you can then play the Oasis Surgers to kind of get back in the game. Faceless Corruptor just is a neutral card. It goes into any deck. Anyone who wants this can play it. And it just bypasses all of the downsides. It's like in a game with so many tokens right now, Faceless Corruptor does not have a downside. And it often comes down to whoever plays their Faceless Corruptor first can win. Because if you play it first, you can trade for some board control. And then your opponent's like, oh, well, now I need to play my Faceless Corruptor to deal with theirs. And and it hands the initiative to whoever played the Faceless Corruptor first, basically. It's just not fun. I do not think this is a very well designed card. I think it's not interestingly designed. I just think it's easy. So yeah, very disappointing that this card is in the game. So I think this needs to be nerfed, and how I would nerf it is I would still make it, I would even make it 6 mana to summon 2 5/4s with Rush, which I still think it would see play at 6 mana, to be honest. Or I would nerf it, keep it at 5 mana and change it to 4 attack and 3 health. And then it's still a strong 5 mana play, don't get me wrong, but it's just a lot less impressive. And also the 3 health I think is quite important, because if they make a trade, more than often they will die. Because a lot of the problem with the Faceless Corruptor at the moment is you play it, you get 2 5/4s, you trade twice, they both survive, and then your opponent still has to deal with these 5 attack minions on the board, which can be very difficult. So I think that would be what I would do. I would nerf it to a 4/3 with Rush. Now, if you wanted to take it completely out of the game, I would make it a 6 mana 4/3 with Rush. And that's just that. Because it's not, to me, and you guys might disagree, but to me this is not a fun card. It's not something I think is very interesting in Hearthstone. It doesn't do anything exciting. It's not easy. It's not fun to play around. It's just, oh great, another Faceless Corruptor. So that's what I would do. Guys, let me know if you think you would change anything differently. And I hate to be so negative, but honestly this is just how I felt. I'm really excited about Descent of Dragons. Loads of cool big dragons we can play, and really there aren't that many dragon decks that are interesting at all, because they just get completely rolled over by this Galakrond Shaman. So let me know in the comments what you would change. Do you think Shaman should be touched at all? Do you think other decks maybe could be buffed just to bring it in line with this? It would be interesting to hear what you have to say. And again, I hate to be so negative, guys, but that's just how I feel. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and let's hope we get some good nerfs and get the meta more balanced so we can play some more enjoyable decks next week. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.